The P10F is CZ's full-size version of their popular P10C brand. Now, despite having one of the better triggers in the striker fire market, there's always improvements. This is the review on the HBI trigger for the P10. Let's get to work. Welcome back to the bench. Today we're going to be doing a review of the P10 trigger upgrades from HB Industries. This is their Theta Trigger, and it's one of the more popular trigger upgrades for the P10F, and I'll tell you why. This trigger is awesome. So the P10's already had a pretty good trigger. Comparatively to a lot of the striker fire triggers across the industry, they're pretty crisp. Their pull weight is about average, but they're pretty crisp. Crisper than the majority of them. Not quite as much slop as you get with a lot of the other triggers. Well, the HB Industries trigger takes that and improves it. Now the trigger comes with this trigger shoe and a striker spring. So that striker spring is actually reducing your trigger weight a little bit. I'll post up right about here what those trigger weights are before and after the modification. Now the only downside is that when you modify the striker springs, you are playing around a little bit with reliability. I've not had that problem with my P10F with the HBI trigger inside, but do understand that with a reduced power striker spring, you are going to affect that reliability on very hard primers. Now, majority of the ammo that I shoot is courtesy of Applied Ballistics. It is this 115 grain Midwest ammo. This is my if it'll eat anything ammo. It's not bad ammo, it's just a little bit more finicky than the majority of like the big box brands. And generally speaking, everything I have will run this ammo. But I always like to run this ammo in my reviews so that you guys can see that if it runs it, it'll run pretty much anything. And that is true with the HBI trigger. So what's so good about the HBI trigger? So the original CZ P10 trigger is pretty good. It's relatively short. It's got a crispish wall, but it does have slop in it. The amount of creep that you've got by the time you start feeling high resistance to the time it breaks is pretty long. In addition to that, it's got a good reset, but it's not a great reset. So the HBI trigger fixes a lot of that. So here is our trigger pull. You can see that we've got a standard dingus style trigger here. Now, again, one of my pet peeves with dinguses is dinguses that do not fold flat back into the trigger face. The HB Industries trigger does fold flat, giving you a nice flat face to push up against. After that, you've got a little bit of creep, looks like about 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch before you hit a pretty hard wall. And that wall is hard enough that you can actually hear it. Let's see. Can you hear that? I hope so. So you can actually hear that wall when you hit it. Now, after that wall, there is creep, and it's about 1/8 of an inch of overall creep. But the pull weight on this thing is such that if you maintain a consistent pull weight back, you're going to break that wall without ever really getting into the creep, which is really nice as far as nice precision shots go. Now, the reset is, again, very short and very tactile and very audible. You get that nice click reset in there when you reset that trigger. And it's a very nice, positive, firm sound when you actually release the striker. There's a lot of striker fire guns out there that when you release the striker, it's got like this weird spring boing sound that I absolutely hate. This gun doesn't have that. Now, again, this does come with a reduced power striker spring. I've not had any issues with it, but that could lend itself to some reliability issues. I'm not saying that it will, I'm not saying that it does, I'm saying that it could. So if you do the HBI trigger upgrade and you're noticing that you're not getting firm, solid strikes on the back of your primers, that might be the culprit. So let's go ahead and take some shots with the HB Industries trigger, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So this trigger lends itself really well to quick shooting too, because of the short reset, and it's got a pretty springy reset too. The trigger kind of jumps back up. You're not going to be able to like overrun the trigger with your trigger finger. It's just a nice solid trigger. So the dingus in it does function. You can see there the dingus is released, and I'm trying to pull the trigger back. The striker is primed and it's not releasing. So it should be a drop safe trigger. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands of these triggers out there now. So if there was a drop safe issue with these, we would probably know about it by now. That being said, I always like to point that out. You guys can find a link to the installation right up here somewhere. But let's take a couple more shots. I know this review is not super long, but guys, there's not a whole lot to say about triggers. They, generally speaking, they work or they don't. They're safe or they're not, and they're an upgrade or they're not. This one, definitely an upgrade on an already great trigger. So that's the HB Industries trigger for the CZ P10. Now, again, this one is particularly on the P10F. This trigger goes on all P10s, both the version 1 guns and the version 2 guns. I know that there's some contention there about, oh, there isn't really, yes, there is. They changed the magazine release and they changed a couple other components. So yes, there is a change in the P10 line. There are 2 different P10s out there. Thank you. If you're looking on the market of currently released P10 triggers, in my book, this one's top dog. Now, there are some more triggers coming out in the future that may equal the HB Industries trigger, but I don't think they're gonna beat it. This is just such a good trigger upgrade from the original trigger that was already good that it's gonna be hard to beat it. You can equal it, and depending on other features that you want, you could be able to get one of the other brands. But guys, the P10 trigger from HB Industries is a fantastic upgrade for your P10. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching. I will have a link in the description down below for this trigger. Remember, if you like what we do here on the channel and you want to help out a little bit, head on over to our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/workthetrigger. We will keep an eye on this trigger, so if you're looking for updates on if we have any issues, go ahead and hit that notification bell and subscribe. Thanks, guys. I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, and get to work.